Welcome you to our broadcast here. This is Focus on Liberia, and it is my pleasure to be here with Minister Axe Doe. Mr. Doe is a Deputy Minister for Youth Development at the Ministry of Youth and Sport. Mr. Doe is here in an interview with Focus on Liberia to talk about his line of work and what they are doing um, in the area of youth and sport, especially on youth development. We want to welcome you to our broadcast. Thank you for joining us, folks, as we always do here. Please help us share our show so that other people can have the opportunity to follow this broadcast and learn what Mr. Doe has to share. Not many of us Liberians know about the work of the Ministry of Youth and Sport. Mean to before lately, all I know is Ministry of Youth and Sport is all about sport. It's all about sport and nothing else. But from my research, there are other things that they are doing, and we want to look into these things and see whether they are actually doing those things they say they are doing. It is good for us as a people to understand the work the ministries, all the ministries are doing. Many of us tend not to know that. So this is the reason we have brought in Mr. Doe, because youth development is key. If Liberia is to be developed, then the youth, the future leaders of our country, must be prepared for tomorrow. I checked their website. They make a lot of big news, big talk over there, and we want to make sure that all the big talk they've been talking or they have on their website, they are actually not just talking the talk, and that they are actually walking the walk. Again, welcome and welcome. At this time, I want to welcome my guest, Minister Isaac Doe. Mr. Doe, welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Mr. Anthony, thank you. Thank you so much for the invite. I appreciate sharing the platform with you and talking to our people. I definitely look forward to a promising discussion, and hopefully, at the end of our show, you will get to be convinced that this is the first time Liberia has had a government that just doesn't talk the talk, but of course, do exactly what it says. And again, I'm grateful to be sharing the platform with you.
All right, Mr. Doe there trying to make the impression that, the government that he represents as an implementer of one of its policy focus areas is not just talking the talk, but they are walking the walk. We will see that to the end of this show. That is why you need to stay with us, because maybe some of you have been paying attention. We want to know whether the minister is telling the truth. Honorable Minister, not many people know about you. I may know you personally, but not many people know about Minister Axedo. So briefly, in 2 minutes or so, who is the Deputy Minister for Youth Development, Mr. Axedo?
My guess is you have already introduced me. I wish there were many other things to say, but before I go into that, since this is my first time on your platform, let me take up the time, like I usually do whenever I have the opportunity, to speak by extending from the deepest part of my heart thanks and appreciation to the president of the country, His Excellency Dr. George Chemwia, for his unprecedented level of support for young people in this country. Like I've always said, this will be the first time in the history of our country that you will agree with me that young people have been so much respected and of course gotten that light to sit at the highest level of our government. Now, I don't want to be one of those people who want to be truthful to my thought. I might say, though, that previous governments before this government have had young people work in the government, but you were just able to count about one, two persons, and that's about it. This is the first time that if you were to count your fingers, you will count your five fingers, your 10 fingers, your five toes, your 10 toes. You will ask for more persons to count, meaning young people in our country have been given the space to prove to the world what they can do. And it is left us now as young people to ensure we give back that confidence that have been imposed in us so that generations after us can be seen just how the president has seen us. And I'm Isaac Doe, the deputy, usually people call me the youthful deputy minister for young people in our country. I guess married and now father of two. And of course, nothing much more to introduce besides me being the deputy minister and of course Isaac Doe.
Mr. Azedo, thank you. And I'm happy to have this conversation with you. To get started, with the Ministry of Youth and Sport, where you serve as youth development. Like I said earlier, many of us, when we hear about youth and sport, we talk about that sport. And mainly, what kind of sport is your football, that football thing they own over there. But before we get to the football thing, which from my research is just one of the components of your focus areas, the word youth is key in your work. Tell me, what is your definition or what is your classification? What's your description of youth? Please uh, put in there the ages range also so that people can understand.
All right. Thank you so much. And before I go to that,
Mhm.
let me clearly state for the record that the ministry is Ministry of Youth first
Mhm.
and Sports number two.
Yeah.
That means the ministry focuses on youth and as well sport. Combination of these two things. For my own reasoning, for the fact that though not only young people are people who are engaged in the issue of sporting, but many young persons are those engaged in Ministry of Youth, focusing on youth and sports. And I see my internet seems to be a little coming down. Hope I'm okay. But again, looking at the youth definition, we want to fit in that definition in line with what our own constitution and other chapters out of Liberia defined youth to be. I know prior to the war, we have had people up to the age 25 being considered youth, but because we have had long years of Western wars, whereby people who were considered youth at that time did not have the opportunity to enjoy their youthful days. And so, in the wisdom of the people of Liberia and the African continent as a whole, the age of a person classified as a youth was then extended to age 35. So legally between 18 to 35, you are youth. Usually we go down a little to 15 adolescent, but it's between 15 to 35. And just for the record, you will want to be assured that being a deputy minister for youth, I'm a youth because I definitely fit within the range of 18 to 35. And I got many other years I have prior to crossing the 35 mark. So we will be assured that the president did not just appoint people to just anywhere. He fit the right people into the right places.
Well, talking about that, I'm not sure if that is entirely true. I hope you're not going to get yourself into hot water here. Zoga Wazing, if you are trying to insinuate that the president appoints, taking into consideration the nomenclature of, a particular ministry, then Zoga Wilson should not be there. But we will leave it there. Let's focus on what we are here for.
That,
Another area, another area is sports.
just to say though, that's
Oh,
not something I will agree.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I was actually saying that
Mhm,
my boss or Minister Wilson,
mhm.
someone who is deeply rooted in the issue of sport of the country, and besides, you who know that Minister Wilson serves as the overall administrator for the Ministry of Youth and Sports, and departmentalized, I will be the head for the youth, being a young person, Andy Kwame, who is my colleague, being the head for the sports, and of course Peter Bema and our own administrator, each being the head of our department, of which Minister Wilson, who is a person rooted into the sporting aspect of our country, serves as our overboss.
All right. That is fair enough. So let us come to sport. What is sport and what does it include under the Ministry of Youth and Sports?
Yeah, actually, being the deputy minister for youth, a person who's focused on the youthful aspect of the ministry.
Mhm.
And I would somehow love to focus my attention on the place, should I consider myself expert, or to where I am. I might not be that much of a sporting person, so probably I may not know the definition of sports. I would be taking sports to be watching Barcelona and Real Madrid, but there may be much, much more to that. But I would definitely be glad to tell you on the issue of youth focused, and maybe chipping in if needs be on other aspect of the ministry.
Mr.
Say,
Do, I
or
understand you have your focus area, but
Mhm.
the fact that you are a representative of that Ministry of Youth and Sport, you are a minister there,
Right.
you should have a unique understanding, what are uh, in the package of sports in the ministry. So what are the focal areas? At least you need to know. I don't. I'm not asking you for all the technicalities. What are the
Sure.
sports activity included under the Ministry of Youth and Sports?
Sure. I want to agree. You run a top show. Let's assume that you have reporters focused on different aspects.
Mhm,
Someone legislative reporter, another person religious reporter.
mhm.
All of those reporters will have an idea of what is going on, but they wouldn't have a detailed information of what is going on in another person's place. But just for your question, let me not define supposed to be watching Real Madrid and Barcelona, but I'm thinking is about developing the overall sporting area of our country, ensuring that Liberia is not left behind when it comes to one of those places young people are usually interested. That is the sporting area. And as a matter of fact, it's an open secret that our current president, of course, came down that route, and it gave him the opportunity to be who he is today. And so we see the sporting side as a very major proponent of developing the young minds of our country, not just to play football, but I'm sure there are many other things the sports side is engaged in. Like I know of grassroots sporting, I know of the up country sporting, I know of many other events that actually tend to mold the minds of young people into productive citizens of our country.
Thank you. What I was looking for that I did not get, you talked to you know, be a little more on the surface. So soccer, football, we call it in Liberia and in Africa and Europe for the most part, is something we know. But
Mm-hmm.
I was just looking to see whether you have basketball,
Oh
track and
yeah, that's
field,
what I
and
said.
you make investment in these other areas of sports, talking about women football, women basketball, that's what I'm trying to see because I want my audience to know that the Ministry of Youth and Sport is not about just playing football and football, but they are, involved in supporting the young people in other sports that are very important in the world.
Yeah, sure. Just like I rightly put it, and just like you just said,
Mhm,
sport itself, like I said, are shouldn't only attributed to Real Madrid and Barcelona playing football,
mhm.
but it comprises of all of the sporting activities. That would be basketball, that would be swimming, that would be volleyball, that would be whatever sport you can think about is into the arena of sporting. Though we usually take sport to be football because that's what we tend to mostly get used to. But sporting is not just football; it comprises of many other activities. And the Ministry of Youth and Sports isn't just engaged in seeing the upliftment for football, but of sports as a whole in its totality. So it's not just football; it's everything.
Oh,
And I'm sure you mentioned the issue of female. I might not be clearly specific, but I know that our female under 17 or under 21 recently went for either a Wafu tournament where they came, I think, second. And I was checking. I may be wrong, but I'm guessing that would be the first time or the female soccer team has reached that level. Maybe I'm wrong, but from what I've known, is the first time. So that tells you we are diverse into what we actually focus on.
all right, thank you. You are a minister for youth development. Let's go into your department. In your department, from my research, you have some programs that you are implementing. I read something here for you. The youth department strategic areas of focus are: one, youth capacity development initiative. I would assume that this falls directly under your supervision, you being the minister for youth development. This is your department.
Mhm.
Tell me the youth capacity development initiative. What is it, and what are the things that you are doing there?
Thank you. Maybe I would just like to summarize that entire thing so we have a clearer picture of where we are focused.
Mhm.
But before doing that again, let me recognize the unprecedented effort of His Excellency, the President of this country, for ensuring that the voices of young people, maybe for the first time in my country, is not a secondary voice, but at the top tiers of the Liberian government. That in itself shows how he has prioritized the well-being of our young
Mr.
people.
Doe, I don't want to
So just
interrupt you,
before,
Mr. Doe. Hold on,
just,
Mr. Doe.
just before
Mr. Doe,
I
hold on.
go to that,
Mr. Doe,
I'm
Mr.
getting
Doe,
to a
yeah,
point to
this
let you know
interview
your
is not
audience,
about the president. It's about your
of course.
work as, yeah. So focus on that.
And
I
that's
don't want you to
what
sing
we're
praise
going
the
on now.
president here.
We we will both agree here that Liberia has a population that is almost 65%
Mhm.
being young people.
Right.
That will mean for this country to move forward in the best possible way, we cannot leave the young people behind. And that can only happen when we have a president who, of course, sees it just as it should be seen. This is the reason for letting the world know of the unprecedented level of support this young community has received from the president. But as you've asked directly on the issue of my work, um, just to summarize, our focus as a youth department organ of the Ministry of Youth and Sports, we are there to make sure we have a stabilized youth community where every young person, regardless of status or what have you, has the space and opportunity by which they can reach their full potential. We want to ensure that every young person in this country can sing to their best if you want to sing, can run to
Mr.
your
Doe,
best if you want to run.
all that you're talking,
And
give me specific. How are you ensuring that the young people reach their full potential? I mean, giving it specific. What are you doing specifically?
and that is just a summary of our focus. Now we can go into details as to those things the ministry has been doing. I would like to place it into two forms. Before the coronavirus, the pandemic hit the planet, during the crisis being the second, and then after the crisis, what we look to do. Let's first start with what we've done prior to the pandemic. like you rightly said, we have been running lots of projects. Those projects, though more needs to be done in our country as a whole, but we've
Mr. Doe, you're
used
still
the
dancing
limited.
around this question. I asked you specifically your youth capacity development initiative. My question was, what is it and what specifically are you doing to enhance the capacity of young people?
And I'm not sure how the question can be responded to if we don't talk about specific youth initiated people in the
And I
country.
want you
And
to
of
go
course,
to
that's what
that,
we're
but
doing.
you're still dancing around and designing it for me. I want you to give it to me.
And exactly so, we can only build the capacity for our young people through our programs. And I wouldn't talk about anything else than the programs that we run. And like I initially said, what is our focus? That would be the first thing to understand on what we are doing to build the capacity of our young people. And like I said initially, like you rightly put it, um, to have the capacity of a person built, you first have to have a stabilized organization. That means it is our job to ensure the space is provided. That's why you who see, since our ascendancy as a government, our youth organs, those major youth organizations, FLA, Linkson, what have you, have had no major issue of disturbances as it's been. That is of first step to ensuring building the capacity of people by which they can have the space to actually have this opportunity. But as I was saying rightly, we run projects in at not just building the capacity of young people, but also making them economically viable.
Mr.
One of
Doe,
those projects
Mr. Doe,
is the Youth Opportunity Project.
you have not told me how you are building. Talking about Linsu and Fly, what programs do you run? With these institutions. What is it? Are you teaching them how to read and write? Are you teaching them how to learn? How to sew? You got to give me something.
And the thing is, um, I won't come from my house and give someone money to learn how to sew, how to make sew.
Mm-hmm.
We will have an organized project by which they will learn that.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, we are doing a step-by-step way for you and your viewers to understand how we are proceeding. And just like I was saying before you came in, we have the Youth Opportunity Project. That is a project mainly focused on building the economic capacity of young people.
Are you there, Mr. Doe? Mr. Doe, are you with me? All right, folks in cyberspace, you are watching Focus on Liberia. My name is Anthony C. hosting. I have with me the Deputy Minister for Youth Development, Mr. Isaac Doe, with me. He's having some issues with his connection there. I think Mr. Doe is back with us. Mr. Doe is the Deputy Minister for Youth Development as the Minister of Youth and Sport. And I am sitting down here with him so he can share with all of us Liberians what work he and his team there at his department, the Department for Development at the Ministry of Youth and Sport, are doing for the people of Liberia. Mr. Doe, I think your connection has resumed. That's good. Please, the proper internet thing is not helping you, but go on. You're doing great, Mr. Doe. Mr. Doe seems to still be having some connection issue there. We will be connecting our phone lines quickly. Mr. Doe, are you back with us? Uh, Proper internet should be an issue there with the minister, Mr. Axel Doe. Mr. Doe, how you looking there? All right, folks, I'm sorry I lost Mr. Doe there. Bear with me and stay with us here. I think Mr. Doe is going to join us. He's going to join us. Mr. Doe is going to join us, certainly. As you can see, he's back with me here. He's back with me here. Mr. Doe, welcome. You were in roads, so quickly continue.
Yeah, and let me, because prior to the break, I heard you talk about Propo Internet. Propo has been a running government for 3 years. Liberia is about 172 years of age. So you definitely know where we are.
Okay.
Uh, but if I can get connected, I know I was talking about the youth
Yeah, yeah, you are
opportunity.
you are connected. You are good now, Mr. Doe. Continue.
Okay, that's good.
Mhm.
I was talking about the Youth Opportunity Project being one of those
Oh, this internet is gonna kill us yet. Mr. Doe again is having some trouble with his connection. Folks, bear with us. Our country, uh, nothing seems to work, unfortunately. Maybe one would think that the minister will have a much better connection, but that is not the case here. Again, folks, this is Focus on Liberia. My name is Anthony Hosting, and we are having a sit down here with Deputy Minister Isaac, though he is the Deputy Minister for Youth Development, the Ministry of Youth and Sport, and I am here prepared. And the minister needs to tell us what the ministry is doing for our young people. I need to know that. So stay there while I get Mr. Doe back on. I will bring in a little music for like a commercial break. I'll be right back with you. Stay tuned. folks, I'm back with you here. Sorry, I was making all effort to get Mr. Isidore back on for us to continue this interview. Things seems not to be working there at his end, and I am totally sorry that Mr. Doe, for some reason, cannot get connected again with us here at Focus on Liberia to continue this interview. Is the issue of internet in at his end. You know, folks, this is the problem that we continue to have. You know, is although nothing works in our country, and it is extremely sad. We have a minister of government who is having connection issue. That tells you how things might be with the ordinary man in the country. And again, the issue is internet. Internet is the problem. We do not have reliable internet for the most part in our country. And so, because of that reason, here we are. We cannot continue a very important interview that we have packaged here for you to go into the work of the Ministry of Youth and Sport. I really wanted to hear from the minister. What actually is it that they are doing? I researched their websites. They talk about youth development initiative, and that's the question I was asking him to tell me what is that and what specifically that they are doing. And you could see that the minister was just dancing around the issue and he could not give me the meat of it. They said on their website they have a program called Youth Capacity Development Initiative. And that's what I was asking. What is it? What is that Youth Capacity Development Initiative? I know he was in road. He did not complete the answer, but he was talking about Linsu and Fly and how there has not been any conflict, and even that is entirely not true. We heard about conflict there. We heard some students leaders saying that those institutions have been taken over by government. There was no independent government was intruding and trying to decide who should become the leaders of that institution instead of the students themselves making that decision. And so to say that things has been peaceful, yeah, things may be there may not be noise right now because maybe the government might have used its muscles, or in determining who become or who or become leaders at those very institutions. But that was the only thing I got from him. But on the specific issue of youth capacity development initiatives that they are carrying on to enhance the capacity of youth in Liberia, the minister did not give me that prior to he falling off, with me here in studio. And so I don't know if we can continue the show with the minister because the essence of this show was to get into the head of the minister so that he could share with us why he knows, to the best of his knowledge, that they are doing, as a ministry, uh, to prepare our youth, for leadership, for the challenges ahead. And that's why, because one of the things they talk about is they have a national youth volunteer service program. What is that? I wanted the minister to tell me what that is and how, in any way, it is helping in preparing young people for the challenges of tomorrow. They also talk about strengthening youth sector coordination. What is that? I needed, or we needed him to tell us what that is and what specifically that they are doing, and not just telling me, this is what. No, you need to tell me first of all, what is this program? What are the specific things you are doing there? A, B, C. How many youth have been impacted based on your statistics at that particular ministry? You need to give me that. And I'm not going to accept, somebody telling me, oh, this is what we're doing. You're just, dressing the cake. No, if you come here, this is focus on Liberia. We are here to focus on Liberia and its people. And if you show up here You need to be specific. You need to give us specifics, and you're not going to dance around the issue. We have seen so many literature on many websites in Liberia that completely amount to absolutely nothing. And so, folks in cyberspace, I'm sorry that the minister has fallen off here. And I don't know if we can continue on the interview. I tried to open our phone lines. The conference call people, they're having some technical issues there too. Or else I will open the phone lines and I will allow you, our, our audience to call in and participate. And we can also have a conversation. One of the things on their website they talk about also is something they call increasing youth participation in income generation and entrepreneurship program. What is that? Is this something that they have put together to make youth in Liberia to get into business ventures? Does it mean that they are training them how to start a business? And if they are training them to start a business, does it also mean that they direct them to where they can go and get funding, to start that business? What is that? The minister needed to answer that, but unfortunately, we lost the minister. Youth participation in income generation and entrepreneurship program. I don't know what that is. Those words are just on their website. And my goal here, our goal here as Focus on Liberia, was to make this man tell us specifically what is it, why are they doing to bring about this entrepreneurship and income generation for young people. What is it? How they doing it? How many people have benefited so far? Where they getting the money from to carry on the program? And these are the questions that I've had for the minister. Unfortunately, we lost the minister right there. On their website, also, they make another big talk. And that big talk is the ministry believes in and strives to achieve and promote the following values in carrying out its mandates, among which they said include professionalism. Oh, what a war. I wanted the minister to be able to tell me what is his definition of professionalism, and they talk about excellence. What is excellence? What a great word. And I mean, if you are say you want to promote excellence among the young people, you need to tell me the description of excellence, how you are trying to achieve the excellence by doing what, and why. That's why I needed to know. And they talk about integrity. Woo. Another word, integrity. Again, folks in cyberspace, following our broadcast here, Focus on Liberia, I sincerely want to apologize that we are having with us here Minister Isaac Doe. Mr. Doe is the Deputy Minister for Youth Development at the Ministry of Youth and Sports in the Republic of Liberia. We had him here for an exclusive interview on the ministry work, especially placing emphasis on the youth. We love Mr. Doe, so I will have to end this broadcast because the questions that I had for Mr. Doe is the appropriate person to be able to answer those questions. I don't have the answers, I just have the questions. And I needed somebody from the ministry to have come here to be able to ask to answer those questions. I can prepare. I'm sure Mr. Doe can prepare, but maybe he didn't come prepare, enough to have taken into consideration that in order to get this job done, you need to get better internet. So I hope the minister. Okay, it seems to be the minister is joining us here. The minister has joined us here in studio. Uh, he okay, connection is good. Mr. Doe, in your absence, I was just trying to lecture with my audience why we brought you and the questions we asked and the answers that we want. And again, welcome to Focus on Liberia. Earlier, I asked you about the Youth Capacity Development Initiative. And you have S to the initiative. So tell us about those initiatives and how you carry on those initiatives. How many young people have benefited so far, and what's your goal there? So it's a package there for you, please.
Thank you. Let me first apologize to your viewer. I'm not sure what happened. I
Mhm.
had to turn my computer on, turn my phone off twice, come back on. I wasn't getting through for some reason. I didn't know, but
Mhm.
it's a good thing that we are back, and hopefully
Yes.
we can go from there. So I think before I went off, I was discussing initiatives undertaken by the Ministry of Youth and Sports,
Right.
specifically the Department of Youth Development
Mhm.
that we lead under the stewardship of Honorable D.Z. Wilson. I was specifically speaking to the Youth Opportunity Project,
Mhm.
and that is a $10 million loan from the World Bank project that we are implementing that ensures that young people of Liberia are financially potent, are work ready potent, and of course are people who are independent of their own ideas in terms of skills, and you can think about the rest. And I mentioned that a target of 15,000 young persons, and that's just the Youth Opportunity Program. And it break out somewhere in the 12 to 15,000 targeted range because we have about a year left on the project that goes up to 2021 of 2021 June. That will be classing. What the project does, like I said, it gives young people the ability to be financially potent. It helps them with knowledge in, say, running a business, in, say, going back to the farm, agriculture, and how those can be used to help improve their own lives. We have components of it. One of those components is the PES, that is the pre-employment social support component, but the name itself, or it gets young people ready for the job market, and therefore it targets people between the ages of 15 to 17. Our anticipation is that by the time they reach the 18th legal work benchmark, they will be prepared for the job market, and they will be a very strong candidate from the side of CV writing, from the side of work ethics, from the side of behaviors in your workplace. I mean, they will have all of those necessary things a person actually needs to have in order to be a very strong candidate on the market. And another component happens to do with the production public work that encourages young people to go back to the farming. What that does is to we have targeted areas across the country where young people um, where young people go to the soil. They have to brush a certain acre of farmland, and once you reach the benchmark of that acre you were entitled to clear for your own farming, you get a subsidy from us. Usually, it's within a range of, I think, 300, 450. I'm not being exact, but it should be, I think, 300 pay a certain benchmark. And we encourage them to go to the farm, have some crops planted, and at the end of the day, harvest those produce and sell them, get money, and help yourself. I gave you one specific example. There is a village in Lofa County, should it be Foya? I want to believe, yeah. The young people in that place use the production popular work, went to the farm, brushed, planted crops, harvested, sold those things, got money, and electrified that place. And from our understanding, it was the first time electricity had gone there. That alone was a major accomplishment, empowering the youth in this place to empower themselves. Where I saw they had the TV, where of course they can watch the soccer games, they can sell, cold water to get more money and actually help themselves. So basically, the Youth Opportunity Project was there to empower young people in making them independent, potent, and of course, job ready. And next to that, we have the cadet program.
No,
You know,
Honorable Minister, before we go to the cadet program, I have it here on my list. So hold your thoughts there. The program you talk about, agriculture, you say you're encouraging young people to go into agriculture initiative, so that they can be able to contribute to national development. Did you, as a ministry, train them before they could start that agricultural initiative? And also, did you give them the funding uh, to have started that program? And why would the minister not know specific area where this program is being implemented? This is your work. I know
you
where
know,
I
we can,
work. Yeah.
I mentioned that the Youth Opportunity Project
Mm.
is a project that is across the country.
Okay.
Now, if we were to go to Maryland County, there are parts of Maryland County,
Hmm.
but I can confidently tell you it is across the country. Even here in Maserati, in Monrovia, let's say Monrovia, there could be a town or a community that you might not know, though you have lived here forever.
Right.
But specifically to your question, now that was a fundamental change of this government, especially when we came in. One of our assessments was that back in the days, young people were either trained in something and let go alone, or not trained in something, but just have them to do it. That would mean if I was someone who just went to the video club every day and you decided to train me into making soap, right after I've gotten trained, you just let me go like that, I would definitely go back to the video club. That would mean money has been spent that actually had no impact on my life. And the other one could be I didn't know anything about business. You just give me money and start doing business. Within 1 or 2, 3, 4 months, that will break down. That would mean money was spent and there was no actual benefit to the reason why the money was spent. So that was a fundamental change that we had to do. So what we did was whenever we train young people, we want to ensure that these young people live by what they were trained. And whenever we have young people going into a field, we wouldn't just grab them from nowhere and put them there. We want to ensure the basic skills and knowledge by which one excel is given you before going into that field. So those changes were there. I can assure you, yeah. Before we took over the person and say, go to the farming, we wouldn't just take you and say, give you colors to go bird. We will have to give you some basic knowledge of how people succeed into farming. We have to give you some basic knowledge of how to manage your own produce if you have them. So definitely we
So,
did those before going to taking them there.
yeah, Mr. Minister, we have a lot to cover, and your proper internet, took some of the time away. So, what I'm getting from you is that you are definitely saying yes to my answer. That yeah,
Oh
you
yeah, oh yeah,
identify the program, you train them, you give them the tools, and then you give them funding to implement
definitely,
what you have
definitely,
trained them to do,
definitely,
and also have
definitely,
given them the tools to do. That
definitely.
is a
That
big
is,
news that you made right there. And
as
yeah,
you
we
are
will
a
follow up
journalist,
to
I
make sure that
encourage you.
you are telling the truth and nothing but the truth. Let
I
make progress.
encourage you to actually find out that. And once you find it out, please call me back to extend thanks to the president for making sure that fundamental change was there.
Hey, Honorable Sir, I know you are being appointed by the president, but I want you to understand that the president did not do you a favor to appoint you. Neither is he doing the Liberian people a favor. It is a job that he asked for, and he's doing it. So let leave that president. You
Ah,
are a civil
let's
servant.
move on.
We
Let's
employ
move
you,
on.
and you should serve also. If we should be talking about anybody, yeah, let's talk about the Liberian people. All right. Okay, let's continue. I know you are politicians also. You talk about the National Youth Volunteer Service Program, NYVSP. What is that? Tell me. And what do you do with
The
that program?
National Youth Service Program. I know I was talking about the cadet before going there, but we can pause on the cadet and talk about it later.
Yeah.
Um, um, the National Youth Service Program, to tell you, this is one of the places where we keep telling our people that this government means business. That program was defunded, just to let you know, sometime 2015. It was defunded, not running. When we came in, we did assessments. We thought that was a major program that would boost the capacity of young people and connect them to job availability. And so we have to rework that program through the efforts again of the president, who made a trip to France where he met his French counterpart. We are now in the process to restarting that program again. Of course, almost everything is on course. We were only delayed slightly because of the pandemic, but the program itself encourages young people to go into volunteerism. And going into volunteerism is helping the country and the government into essential places where skills might be lacking. Let me give you an instance. We have hospitals and clinics across the country, or very highly being into the few long-time persons might not want to go to Green Coup and serve. What we will do, type on the skills of very qualified young people who've graduated and got all of the qualification and send them there on the basis of volunteerism. Once they are there, their impact definitely goes down to the country. So that program, one, encourages young people to take Liberia as their own. I mean, you have your room. I'm sure you want to clean your room. You want to make sure your room is neat. So once a person takes the country as his or her own, you will know how do we care for that.
So,
So
Mr.
that
Minister,
is
you are saying that the program was defunded. That's what you said,
it was
sometime
the
around 2015. And your
Mhm.
president, our president, the president came in and said, hey, I have to get the program working. And he went to France. Are you saying that when he went to France, he was able to secure funding? That is why the program now is on and running.
So,
And how much money did he get? How much money we're talking about here?
unfortunately, unfortunately, if you are asking a question, you don't ask the question to the magnitude of which these things happen. The president did not just go to France. He went to France with a purpose, ensuring that this country benefits whenever he takes a plane. And he met his counterpart, like I told you, and that program will be funded by the result of his trip to France. The French government initially gave a $10 million grant, not a loan, because of this negotiation and connecting skills of the president.
And have you
That
received that funding?
like I've told you, the project is well on course for start. The only reason why today we don't have volunteers in schools, in hospitals, was because of the pandemic. We will be working in line with Mercy Corps, who will be definitely ensuring that this happens. Now, that funding we go. We have like the youth on the job training that is managed by my colleague from the TVET, wherein young people are given work skill by which they will live by. So yes, the project is on course, it's been funded. We are all ready to start. The last time I followed up, there were interviews being conducted from Bon County and some other parts of the country where we will be sending volunteers to help the country and help the government. And
All
if
right.
I say, one of the things you say will be that I'm praising the president. What would I do with this man? All he does is ensure this country is well taken care of.
I don't believe in praising people.
It's
So
not
that
crisis.
that
You
that
can
is
call me
that
a
that
crisis.
that is one issue you will continue to have with me here, especially public officials. If an individual is using their personal money and not in public space,
but,
yeah, if you're praising them, I will understand that.
Mr. C. Anthony,
Mhm.
you will agree that yes, public official. What separates him and just public official is the will to do the thing. There will be public officials who have no will in building roads. But of course, yes, and the will is there to build the roads. So you would definitely want to distinguish what kind of public official he is and what the rest has been. It's not just having the title public official, it's about the willingness and, of course, the heart and desire to have things done for
All
which
right.
you are there.
All right, Mr. Minister, let me progress. On your department, one of your strategic areas of focus, you talk about increasing youth participation in income generation and entrepreneurship program. What is that? What specifically are you doing? How many young people benefiting? Where are the programs located?
And let me quickly start off by referencing the Youth Opportunity Project, like I spoke on, where I
Mm.
told you we encourage young people to go to the soil, to give them money. For doing that, we give them tools. That is economic empowerment because at the end of the day, those produce are sold out and the income is used. I did a visit with a team from the World Bank on one of the villages in Bapolu County, where I physically saw a young lady who built a house from her proceeds. She built a house. When I spoke with her, she told me she was living with her mom. She couldn't think about how on earth she would have gotten to a place where she would own her own house. That project went empowered her economically, and she was being able to build a house. And again, the Youth Opportunity Project targets 15,000 people. I would say, is the number enough? I would say no. But that is a good road to work on. And then next to that, we have the youth program, that is the Youth Economic Empowerment Project that is being sponsored by the African Development Bank. What that project does is basically focused in the area of entrepreneurship. That's the reason why the project runs in community and technical and universities. Now we have the project running in UL where people learn various aspects, making soap, think about a lot of issues or carpentry and the numerous. Now, it's at the University of Liberia at the Nimba Community or Technical College and the other colleges around the country where that is invested, and we use young people into those institutions as people who will be ready to live their life independent of themselves because of the opportunity to have benefited from the project. And that is economic empowerment because once I teach you how to make soap and you make your own soap, sell it, and be able to buy food for yourself, I wouldn't
Mr.
want you to
Minister,
live. That is not economic empowerment.
Mr. Minister, under your direct supervision, you talk about your strategic areas of focus. You listed youth capacity development initiative, national youth volunteer service program, strengthening youth sector coordination. You talk about also increasing youth participation in income generation and entrepreneurship program. These are four programs. And what you just did here is that you just gave me the same explanation for all of them. We suggest to me that let's put our list here, even though we're doing the same thing, so they can see that, yeah, we into a lot of things. Am I reading that wrong, Mr. Minister?
I want to believe you are reading it wrong.
All right.
Now,
Mm-hmm.
whenever you are running a country or even a program,
Mm-hmm.
there is a center goal.
Mm-hmm.
So, what would be the goal of the Ministry of Youth and Sports, specifically the youth development, is to ensure young people have the space to meet their full potential on the line. And so, whatever programs we initiate will all go up to the central goal to ensure that young people are capacitated to be able to have an improved life. And so, be it entrepreneurship, is to ensure that young people can be empowered to help themselves. Be it economic empowerment, is to ensure young people are empowered to help themselves. Be it teaching, football, whatever you can term it, is to ensure that central goal is met. And so, be it we give young people tools to go back to the soil and have crops, produce, sell it, is to ensure they are economically empowered. Be it we teach young people the ethics of job on how to write CVs, is to ensure at the end of the day they can fend for themselves, get a job, or be innovative, do something, and of course, take care of yourself by the way helping the country. Now, one of the things we want to do by that is to ensure ills, that things that go against societal ills are minimal or abolished. And young people are indeed empowered, productive to help the country.
Thank you.
Because once young people are not at that level by which they can be productive citizen, we have a problem in the country.
Thank
That's
you.
the reason why of late, we had focused again on the direction of the president to ensure that our brothers, that I'm sure we'll talk about later on in the program, that usually referred to as Zogos, but we don't, we call them at-risk youth, are placed a lot of focus on. But I'm sure we'll discuss that as we go along.
Yeah, I'm sure maybe we will. Honorable Minister, let me read something that I captured from your website, and then we will do a little question in there. On your website,
Okay.
you wrote, the ministry believes in and strives to achieve and promote the following values in carrying out its mandates. These values include professionalism, excellence, teamwork, inclusiveness, equity, equality, and accountability. Very sensitive words. Let's see if we can go into a few of them. On the word professionalism, explain how you exhibit professionalism as you carry on your work.
Number one, I remember back in the days, one of my courses, we had a discussion on the issue of being professional, and there were a lot of various views. But let me start with a person themselves. When, as a youth minister in the country,
Mhm.
when I appear on your show, you want to ensure that you see a person, but even the way I dress, to be like a professional person. That's one aspect of it.
Okay.
The way you present yourself, to the way you respond to things. Like I gave you an instance about me. Um, During the campaign, I was everywhere, every social media pages, every radio station, and you can think about the rest. When I got in government, I felt within me, I am no longer campaigning. I am a government official now. So I wouldn't just go and write for no reason. I wouldn't just go and say something that I would have said anyways. I had not been, I had not been a public official. So professionalism is basically teaching young people on how to be themselves and how to get respect from those seeing them. And of course, not doing things on a way that will show a person that is not being professional. So basically, yeah.
All right. Another word you talk about is integrity. Are you all of integrity in the discharge of your duties?
Uh,
And what is integrity, by the way?
you you have known me for a long time. Before coming in government, you have known our history of work. We worked at one of the best places to work on the planet. We came from there as being one of the best, that is by record. And we have never had a lot of yo-yo in our back. Integrity is where you are given dollars to implement a project. You don't pocket $5, but you use the $10 to implement the project. And at the end of implementation, you go back and give report on how it was spent. That's one part of integrity. Integrity is not going around lying. It's being truthful, like I've been here, on what is the reality of things. You can discuss it in many forms, but it's about being a role model for many other persons coming after you to ensure that what they do is in the best interests of the country, of people, and the world as a whole.
All right. Another word you talk about is accountability. Are you
Well,
accountable?
I've just
Oh, you mentioned that.
I,
Maybe I'm
I've
not
just
paying
now
attention.
Ministry of Youth and Sports under the leadership, the dynamic leadership of Honorable D. Zuga Wilson, puts out quarterly reporting in the newspaper so that people can read. And if you have a need to challenge that report, that is accountability.
And you talk about another juicy word called excellent. Tell me about excellent in the discharge of your duty. Is they excellent only about you as implementers of
No, no,
government
no, no, no,
policy,
no, no. Of
trying to exhibit excellence in all you do, or is it about the youth that you are trying to prepare or for tomorrow that they should strive for excellence? Is that your goal?
it's for the young people, it's for the country, it's not for me. If we talk about youth, I would say it's about myself too, because I'm a youth anyways. But we all know excellence is actually the quality of being outstanding in things you do. So what we mean by that is when we teach young people how to be entrepreneurs, we want them to be the best entrepreneurs. When we teach people how to be accountable, we want them to be the best at that. When we teach young people how to be leaders, we want them to be the best leader. That would mean our vision of excellence is, of course, higher because we don't want to train or do something that will be substandard. We wanted to always lead the world if need be. So, it's just ensuring that reaching your full potential is at your best.
All right, now let's come to something else. You talk about the mandate of the Ministry of Youth and Sport. On your website, Big Talk again, you say you develop the social and national consciousness of Liberian youths, male and female, educating them to be really morally and physically to answer to the call of their country, to be prepared morally and physically. For the fun part of it, let's come to the physical aspect. Let's start with you, the officials there. Are you all physically fit? I see a lot of ministers. Some people will say pregnant. What's this going on there? Physically, you must be because you are
Well,
you are leading. You must be leading by example. Some of you
I,
stomach. I mean,
I, I don't know if the God-given structure of a person determines how physical they are, but I do know is about having the strength and the power to always be there. You don't want to be sleeping while you should be going to work. You don't want to be sleeping in your office while you should be looking at papers. I'm thinking that is the idea of being physical. And I'm not sure if I have a very big muscle shows that I'm physical, or if I have a small muscle shows that I'm not physical. I don't think the physical appearance, God-given nature of a person determines their physicality. It's about being ready, prepared at all times, having the strength, the zest, the energy to do what ought to be done.
but Mr. Minister, we see that sometimes, for the most part, many of you physical morphology, look okay in the eyes of an ordinary person. And then in your time, you learn this job, and then your belly start to grow, and then you are telling the young people you need to be physical. And sometimes I think that you're not leading by example. What's going on there?
It's not essential to that is the political side from the brother and sister of friends from the other side who have nothing substantive to discuss, but rather talk about those things that don't. Even if my stomach is big from here to Broad Street, how is that affecting the country or impacting the country? That is a non-issue. Those are not discussions that I have. I don't waste my
Mr.
time on those.
Minister, if your stomach is that big, you will be taking up space from other people. You might not
Well,
be observing
well,
social
the question,
distancing as well.
the thing, the thing here is, I mean to say those are non-substantive discussions that our brothers who have nothing substantive to discuss decide to go in. Those are not places I waste my effort because whenever I speak, I want to speak as someone who is professional, a government official, and someone who is serving as a role model for a lot of people, and not to discuss things that are, of course, not relevant to the country.
Thank you, Mr. Minister. There's something in my line of reading called physical health, and it is important. But I told you that was just for the fun of it. Let's come to a substantive issue here. You also said morally. What a word. And you said educate them to be really morally. Liberia should be a country of moral standards. Tell me how you preparing the young people morally. How you preparing the young people morally, in your words, so that they can be ready for the call of national duty. How you
Number
preparing them?
one,
Mm-hmm.
number one,
Mm-hmm.
we don't want, for instance, the Federation of Liberian Youth
Mm-hmm.
to be used by politicians whose sole goal is self-benefit. We want them to be used by and for young people in helping them grow in the best possible way. That is a moral corridor. Again, we don't want you to be developed in a way that you become a thief. No, we don't want you to be a liar in chief. No, we don't want you to grow with the mentality that in order to be rich, you must steal. Or we don't want you to grow with the mentality that in order to be successful, you must be a government official. Now, those are moral reasoning that we want our young people to grow without. And of course, on a moral basis, that the more you keep trying, never give up, you will be successful someday. That learn to appreciate and learn to take opportunity or advantage of any little opportunity you have. That if you were going to a job interview, no matter how mean or how small that job is, you should present yourself as a person who is ready to contribute. So those are moral capacity we intend for our young people to grow by. And once you talk about us, you can see the example. It's not things that we want to show here. Like, if I mention, you come and say, oh,
So,
don't
so,
say that's not the president.
so, Mr. Minister, where do you meet these young people to tend? It says when they are on a like a soccer program. It says when they carry on the training program into ventures like agriculture. You're talking about preparing them for CV. Is the when you tell them about this morality component, of how they project themselves?
Not exactly just there. It's about anywhere we speak. Like I'm speaking to you right now. I'm sure young people listening to me will get
Okay.
the taste of who I am. And I'm sure they know that I've morally prepared myself to be to where I am today by the way I speak in my output. And it's about whenever we go to speak on graduation programs, whenever we go to engage youth organizations, whenever we are in our communities, whenever we go on the football field, at the time now before this pandemic, whenever we talk to young people in our offices, just about anywhere. Morality is not something you just want to know on a job training. It's about something you want to live by.
All right, Mr. Minister, that come to this. On your website, you also wrote, talking about the Ministry of Youth and Sport, initiate and develop plans and provide means and facilities to enable the youth of Liberia to perform public service to fulfill current needs. The key word there is facilities. What are the facilities that you are providing uh, for the young people to be prepared to fulfill the public service needs that you talk about? Vocational training, I don't know. Talk to me.
You want to come up a little bit? You were a little breaking to me.
Oh,
You want to come up
sorry.
with your
I
questions? You
said
want
on your website, you said you initiate and develop plans. Sorry, you initiate and develop plans and provide means and facilitate uh, to enable the youth of Liberia to perform public service to fulfill current needs. So, why are the institutions that you are doing all these things through? Beside you talk about Fly, you talk about Linsu. Why are other institutions
we
established
we
by
we
government
have.
under your supervision through which you carry out this operation?
If you say established by government, I only specifically want to
Mm,
equate that to what we do because the Ministry of Youth and Sports was established by government to oversee youth activities in
okay.
the country. So what we do, we work along lines with youth-led organizations and other even NGOs are in NGOs. We have more than 500 youth organizations in Liberia, that even led us to the historic revision of the National Youth Policy document, by the way. And I'm sure you must have read about that a lot. That was a document that was endorsed by the president of the country. We thank him for his support again, wherein we did not want to have a scatter youth agenda in Liberia. We want to have a roadmap by which young people can be targeted. Our intent was that, say, for instance, we have UN agencies, we have USAID, we have BRAC Liberia, we have Catholic Relief Services, many other organizations that are engaged into youth activities. We will now want to see BRAC and 4 other organizations doing the same thing in the same place, targeting the same people. That will almost be like not spreading the impact of the country. And so we took on that. As a matter of fact, I have a copy of this here. That was the National Youth Policy document. It's a document that actually gives detailed direction on what the young people say they want. Because we came with the approach that indeed, for me to be able to help you, I should be able to listen to you and determine what you see as something that will help yourself. So we went across the country, did consultation, came out with a document from every county, and it should be spread out to our partners. That was a way in which we thought young people across the country can be reached. And once you are reached with what best suits you, and of course, what you can excel in. If a person is good at farming and you want to put them on the soccer field, of course they will not. Rarely they could excel, but a lot of time they will not. So you want to show you engage the people into those places they fit.
Thank you, Minister. One more component under your supervision, and then we will get to your take on your government performance. And so let's do it. The National Cadet Program, the ministry rights, your ministry rights, the National Cadet Program is one of the most, underline that superlative degree, the most prestigious programs run by the government of Liberia through the Ministry of Youth and Sport with the aim of recruiting recent college and vocational school graduate as well as senior year university students between the ages of 18 and 35 that you talk about as the defined youth age in Liberia, with a minimum grade point average of 2.5 to give them on the job experience. Mr. Minister, the most prestigious program, one of the most prestigious
One
programs
of
one of the most prestigious programs in Liberia. The word most prestigious, is it you envisioning it or is it practical? The prestigiousness of it, is it practical or you like all I just use eloquent words and then it will just captivate the people's mind and say, yeah, we're doing a good job. I think that's why you're doing, yeah, Mr. Minister. So please prove me wrong.
and yeah, let me say, whenever you go to look for a job,
Mhm.
there is one thing you are sure to meet: job experience. No matter what kind of job it is, you will need a job experience. The cadet program hits just that. Now, this is a student graduating from the University of Liberia, now ready to work. He picks up, his internet and sees a job. You need to be a university graduate. He is. You need to be 34 years, 32 years. He is. You need to have job experience. He doesn't. How does he go through? The cadet program just hits that. It is a program meant, meaning to provide on-hands jobs experience to recent university graduates and graduating seniors. Also, it is an opportunity by which young people are connected to availability of jobs. What do I mean? If a cadet was to be employed, say, at EcoBank, the governor of Liberia pays that cadet. They are just there for job experience. At the end of their program, after they have graduated, and there is an availability of job at EcoBank, who do you think would be the first priority? That cadet who had been with them and of course have gone through some level of training definitely becomes priority. So that in itself is prestigious simply because it hits the core of our society. If you were to go to youth unemployment, it's high skyrocketed simply because maybe these things were lacking. And now I don't like to speak about past governments because I'm not sure if I should, but this government, under the leadership of His Excellency, has prioritized those things that should be number one priority. You want to go step by step. It is like you don't have current, you don't have water. You have $10 that can
Mr. Minister,
go for current.
Mr. Minister.
Just before you go.
Yeah,
okay,
quickly.
go ahead.
Yeah, quickly. Yeah, Mr. Minister, what you just explained there, it sounds pleasant to the ears. It's all sweet talk. So I guess my question here is, yes, cadet program, the youth is being sent to Echo
Well,
Bank. Let me learn, Mr. Minister, I'll give you time. He being sent to Echo Bank. The government is paying him while he goes through that training. And then, okay, at the end of it, EcoBank needs somebody to employ in the very specific area that cadet, was getting job training. The bank will, in its wisdom, decide that that cadet occupies that job because that cadet have been there for some time. Apparently, the cadet, was able to perform exceptionally. Sweet stuff, beautiful stuff, all sweet talk. How many person have benefited from this very program? If you have some numbers to share.
Let me just go to to last year, just the last cycle, because we run those by cycle. We had the total of 79 people who finally crossed the line on the last cycle. And of those 79, up to the point at which we did our follow-up, we have had 54 persons gainfully employed. If you were to do percentage-wise, it will be in the upper 60% around there. What that tells you is, if there is an opportunity by which we can have up to 20,000 people gaining access in every phase, we have up to 60% of the 20,000 gainfully employed. I wanted to read, I just recently saw a post on Facebook by one of the recent beneficiaries who was employed at the Civil Service Agency as he called his position HR analyst for strategic planning, budgeting, and forecasting. That is a man who could not have had the opportunity to go there. Had it not been for the cadet program, he's given for the employer of a good salary by which he can take care of himself and his family. And so it's not, just to end, it is not sweet talk. If you were to go to Liberia Bank for Development Investment, LBDI right now, if you were to go to the president's side above it, the young lady who's the administrative assistant outside there, I just forget her name. She is a recent beneficiary of the cadet program. She is there today because of the cadet. And so these are practical issues that are not just in voice, but of course in action and things that you can see and touch.
All right, Mr. Minister, thank you. Let me go to folks in cyberspace. If you are watching us here, this is Focus on Liberia. I'm Anthony here hosting, and we are sitting down here with Deputy Minister for Youth Development, Minister of Youth and Sport. His name is Mr. Isaac Doe, and we are trying to get into his head to explain to us what his ministry, or let's say his department, is doing uh, in the area of youth development. And you can see he is sweating. Uh, we're not going to allow him to eat free money. He needs to he
You
needs to
know,
work for that money. Mr. Minister,
yeah, yeah.
folks, this is what happened in our conference line, the conference line system that we use for our show. They're having some technical issue there. So the lines are not working. It's not our
Mm,
fault. It's the people that
right.
provide us this service having some issue. So please,
Mm-hmm.
we apologize that we will not be taking calls. I've made all effort. I tried 2 times and it seems not to be working still. So we'll read your comments. So if you have some questions for Mr. Doe, please send them and then I will read them. So, Mr. Doe, we have exhausted, your line of work. Now we're coming to how your government is performing, your own view, looking at your background in terms of your educational training, using your expert eyes, how your government is performing. And I don't want you sugarcoating anything here. But let me read some
Thank you.
comments from my viewers here. Thomas Zuo, right? Mr. Doe, which program has your administration put into place on behalf of youth of Liberia for now? And how many of the 15 county we can find those programs right now? Mr. Doe answer that question. Mark Freeman writes, I can be successful without being in government.
Sure.
Mark again writes, loan is what God channel developed today. It's time our minister and government start to loan us money to empower our youth sector into creative careers, youth innovation, implementation, and so on and so forth. I'm looking for a question here. Mr. Dave Jha is asking question. Tell your audience about your specific success story, a real life story. How did you do it? So keep that one. And then another one here from Dave Jha again. How does your ministry ensure that cadet gets that job considering the culture of nepotism and cronyism? What policy ensures that? So answer Dave's first question. He said, tell your story, how you arrived at this position as a young man. You stay on 35 the last time I checked. So it is very
Very,
important.
very, very, very well honored 35.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay,
Answer that one.
yeah, thank you. Basically, I'm a son of a deceased father,
Mhm.
very, very poor parents, born from Meriden County, but got some crew background anyways. We're in Meriden County. I mean, we couldn't afford, the parents couldn't afford. And so what I did was to take up a challenge. I started going after an SMA priest that was then there called Father Ted Hayden, Thomas Hayden, who has helped many, many persons. We used to go to his place, brush guys, wash his dishes, pour water, and then I went there continuously until he saw that I needed some assistance, and he started to pay my school fees. He was the one who paid my school fees until I graduated. When I graduated from Meriden County, I had an opportunity to go to Gambia from a scholarship I received from Sci Savers International because I was one of those 1% top students actually, and I got connected. Unfortunately, I didn't go because of the pass that I got, or I rather came to Liberia to Monrovia to further my education. The same SME priest helped me through Stella Maris, where I was until I had the opportunity to travel to the United States. When I went to the United States, I took 3 months to start my college because I knew education would be key to my success. It was not easy. I was basically a senior student here prior to leaving. But when I left my university, I wanted to attend, couldn't accept the credits and a lot of history. I had to start over. So I started from freshman, and I graduated with a very good honor. I left from there. I went to did my masters, and I also graduated with honor from my master's program. But while I was there, I was one person who always thought success is in your brain, your hands, and your body, on how you approach it. So um, I was fortunate to have worked at Wells Fargo, one of those places where I'm sure I left a Liberian mark because I was, if not the top performer from Minnesota and the region, I would be among the first five. And yeah, basically, I would just say, my parents didn't have it. I struggled on my own from fourth grade. I had someone to pay my own school fees because I couldn't make it. We would always write. Usually, I would write a lot of letters when school came to start so that I could be able to buy, copybooks because the SMA was, the priest was basically focused on the school fees and some other items. But other things that we needed, we didn't have, we had to write, visit office to office. My mom used to sell rice bread that you sold till we were taken care of on the side of food. And while I do, it was not a perfect story. It was not a perfect upcoming. But we always knew the road to perseverance is long, and once you don't give up, you will always get there. So that's where we are today. We decided to support the current president because we saw what in him what Liberia needed, and of course he's been delivering since.
All right, Mr. Doe. And Dave's other question is, how does your ministry ensure that the cadet gets that job considering the culture of nepotism and cronyism? What policy ensures that?
You know, it's always good for people to follow up things and get evidence for themselves. I give you a story. I met this young lady after inducting the cadets into the program. She met me outside and said, "Oh, thank you so much." I said, "For what?" She said, "No, I'm one of the beneficiaries." I said, "Oh yeah, you're welcome. Come aboard. I hope you take advantage of every little opportunity that will be there for you." And she told me, "But you know what? I was afraid to apply because I felt I don't know nobody here I want to go through. So even if I did, why would I be? I don't know no one." So I asked her, "But after you applied, did you know anyone prior to getting on the program?" She said, "No, I was there and they called me for interview. After the interview, they called me again. I'm successful on the project." I couldn't believe it. So I asked her now, if someone tells you that the issue of knowing someone before getting is reality, what will you say? You say, "I will kill myself out for it." Well, that's just the fun part of it. Now, one of the things we do to ensure that the program is void the issue of favoritism, or like the brother put it, nepotism. We work in line with the sponsor of the project, that's Mexico. So whatever stage of the way, Mexico works with us. The sorting out of applicants, Mexico will be there. And there are checklists that everyone chosen will have to pass. So if even I know you, Anthony C, you apply and you don't reach a benchmark, you will not get through. So it is not on the basis that I know you, you're my friend, you're my brother. No, there will be a check mark. Now, before the paper reaches my desk, what I do, we go through all of those benchmark check marks to make sure every single one chosen has it. From me, it goes to the next level. Doing the interview, we don't interview people as a ministry. What we do, we assemble people from different backgrounds. Sometimes we bring one person from civil service agency, we bring one person from an outside NGO, we bring one person from other ministry, and we put the team together. Now, everybody scores each applicant. At the end of the day, the scores are added up, and the highest takes the space. So it has nothing. Even if I knew you and brought you onto the project for instance, when you go for interview, you will be marked and scored by everyone who don't know you. And only those scores will be added up for which you will take the job. And once it comes to me and I look at all of the scores, so I can assure my brother that no, if that is an interest you have, put it through. You will see no one telling you, say, "Come to me, I know you, I will carry you through." Go to anyone who has benefited the project and ask them. First off, at our levels, we don't interfere with the processes until it reaches us. We don't interfere with them. Everybody, who do their part.
Minister Doe, Minister Doe, from what you're saying, you are specifically telling me only when it comes to Azedo department or department that he has, there's no who know you being applied in Liberia. Who know you is a big thing. It's a fact that we know. Are you saying you are an exception here?
You say?
You didn't get the question?
No, you say what again?
Oh, I said, who know you? It's a big thing in Liberia, but when it comes to Azedo department that he has, that is an exception. Is that why you're simply trying to tell us? Yes or no?
Not Isaac Doe's department he has, but Isaac Doe's government he works for.
Oh, I
We
said,
all
don't
know the
stop that
history of
joke.
the president we have. Like
I
I
said, don't
said,
stop that joke. You want me? I don't get me started. We heard about ice cream. We know the connection there, and many other. I don't want to go there. I don't want to be too political
I
today.
wouldn't want to go there rather, but
I
I
don't
earlier
want to
on
be
told you
political
that
today.
I don't waste my
Mhm.
time on discussing things from people who have no substantive issues to discuss.
All right,
All
let
of
me
these things,
progress,
right?
Mr. Doe. Let me progress. There is one of my followers here asking this question. Which university in Minnesota
Tell the man I
did you
graduated
graduate
from
from? Yeah.
Metropolitan State University. Tell him that.
All right.
I saw the question.
That is Metropolitan State University. I'm not
University.
here to defend Isaac Doe. I happen to know
Downtown
Isaac
St.
Doe.
Paul, my man.
I know about his graduation. It is authentic, and you can't fake that. I know that for a fact. Um, all right, Mr. Doe. Now that let me progress here. Let's talk about your government. You are a business student. You study money and business. Your government is having trouble with money in a lot of areas. Um, what is your assessment of your government managing of the fiscal and monetary policy of the government? I want you to use your training to answer this question. Good, bad, okay, and then why?
Thank you. I always like to cut my shot at my level.
Mhm,
Indeed, I'm not a spokesperson for the government.
mhm.
I am working with Ministry of Youth and Sports. And so I usually like to bring my discussion down at my level. How be it though, like you rightly said, and I hope you will appreciate that I use my own knowledge. Of course, my background has been money, economy, finance, banking. Those are places where I can proudly tell you I'm an expert. Because I know my brother who was asking the university I graduated from, if you were to go to Wells Fargo, Maplewood branch, and you ask the manager, Jesse, she will tell you that that's one person I can even make to be my bank's president. She will tell you that. This is what I would say. The question is a good question, but I think it has semblances of opposition talking point. Now, what do I mean by that? In order to assess something, you look at factors that thing has contributed to. Recently, the government has signed for some money, almost 600 to about $740 million. Think about this. Had our international partners got the belief that this government is reckless in how it handles its financial matters, will not be in a position to wanting to do business with us. I've worked in the banking sector. I've given out a lot of loans. I know exactly what people do before they give out loans. And look, I know things they look at. People get denied on the basis of not passing certain benchmark. USAID at a certain time gave almost 200 million something. The US government. Who you think the US government who go that far if Liberia was not at the point of satisfactory performance? I would disagree. Again, there will always be opportunities for improvement. but where we are today. Look at the level of developments being carried out to the level of money that have come in. Compare that to the level of development that have happened in the past 12 years to the amount of money that have came in. If you were to do a comparative analysis, you will see the percentages being very different. But how are we using our limited resources? I will argue at the maximum output level, simply because we match priorities to resources and not just squandering money like the former vice president once said. We had a lot of opportunity, but we squandered those opportunities. That's not what we engage in now. I want to go specifically to the economy. This is my first time having the opportunity to give my expert advice, my expert thought on the issue of the Liberian economy, because where you can put me there. There were a lot of people who said at the beginning that they got the government paying on time, nothing is doing well, the economy is bad. Let me say this. I told someone what we're arguing, he shut up. When you are living with your parents and you have no rent to pay, you have no food to buy.
Mr. Doe, I have to hold you there. You unpackage a lot of things. I need clarity. Hold that thought, Mr. Let's make it a little interactive. First, you talk about benchmarks being set up by these non-governmental partners that are always giving governments money. And you insinuated that if you don't meet the benchmark or some of those benchmarks at a satisfactory level, you will not get dime. Some experts have said that it's not true.
Well,
Sometimes,
again,
let me learn, Mr. Doe. Like they use it. You say I've been giving Liberia since 1967, if my research, if I'm getting the date correct, since 1967 or so. And it has not been more so about Liberia meeting benchmark. Once a country falls into the category, and that has always been the biggest benchmark, has always been poor countries will get the money because people are suffering. Because if these people really want to go about these benchmarks, I don't think people will get money. Many people will die because those benchmarks that you were insinuating that you have been able to meet satisfactorily, there are some you have not been able to meet, and for which you have been kicked off some of those programs. The LETI program, listen, the LETI program, you were kicked off of it. And many other programs, they had to kick you off because you did not meet certain benchmarks. So my question is taking money from donors' account without notice to them, without their authorization, for which 9 diplomatic heavyweights have to write a letter embarrassing your government that put our money back. Is that one of your benchmarks you're talking about, Mr. Doe?
And let me clearly clarify that, as you said, I'm giving my own honest expert opinion on the issue of finances, not as an employee of government within the financial sector. Again, I'm in the youth and sport sector, the youth sector, not the finance. If I were at LRA or Central Bank Finance Ministry, I would then be definite as to what is going on. But I will give you an overview, a general overview of how these things work. Because as a matter of fact, I too have had my own work experience into that field. And so, like you were asking on your last question, I want to hit on. I want to guess you were referring to a letter that once came 1 or 2 years back from some ambassadors and some other international partners.
Yeah.
Let me state for the record, it is not unprecedented for government to use money and replenish it. It's not unprecedented. It is not. If that is the worst form of thing anybody can do, why has it been done year after year back? And why does it be done across the globe?
Is that your justification? Because others have done this bad behavior, so that justifies why we have done it?
Again, I'm coming there. I don't want to speak as a government personnel because I'm not charged into that field and I'm not the government spokesperson.
Okay.
I wouldn't want to give my own honest opinion based on the person who is very well positioned in the side of finance and money and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It is not that because you drank a water that is bad, so anybody else should drink the same water. That's not what I'm saying. I'm only letting you know that this is not unprecedented. Now, there are things that are illegal. There are things that are morally wrong. There are things that are not acceptable. There are things that are okay to be done, although might not be accepted by the person doing it against. Now, I'm not sure if you get what I meant. Now,
I get
what
what
I
you're saying.
mean
You
is
are
that
simply saying that which they
government,
did was okay, and it was not
government,
unprecedented. It was not the first time, so it's
government,
okay.
government, government in itself, government in itself, I don't want to talk about like when government across the world, even not government entities, usually who take and put. Why for? You run country on taxes. You
Without
don't have
notice
any,
to the partners,
you
without
don't
the
have any,
acquiescence of the
well,
partner.
again, that will be a specific discussion as it relates to the issue, which I'm not armed to discuss because I'm not into that place.
All
I
right.
wouldn't want to discuss on the overall general perspective of how these things are done. But
Mm-hmm.
if the partners were notified, if not, that wouldn't be something I would be aware of for the fact that I'm not abreast with it since I'm not in that sector. Well, I just wanted to be, you know, give my own thoughts from the overall perspective, and I think I did well.
All right, Mr. Do, thank you. We have to leave it there. We are almost going 2 hours, and the reason is you have some bad connection there, and we understand nothing seems to work in Liberia. I hope I'm not making a sweeping statement. Maybe my
And
evidence
thank
is
God
that
this government is trying to make things work in Liberia.
maybe my evidence is that you got disconnected twice and you have to struggle to come by, even though you are
That's
an
okay.
official of government. If internet can work for you, I don't know who is going to work for. Hey, Mr. Doe,
It's a recognized government, minister.
so Mr. Doe, we have covered what you came here for. I see that you are sweating. I hope you can come by again so we can talk politics. I don't want to be political today. I wanted to give my audience the opportunity to hear the programs that your ministry, the Ministry of Youth and Sport, is involved into. So we want to say thank you for honoring our invitation. We will get a closing statement from you, and anything you wanted to have talk about that we did not cover, you have at liberty to do so, Mr. Doe. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you again. I was attempting to discuss the issue of at-risk youth because I think it is one of those areas that needs to be targeted at all costs and at every level.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot affect the life of a person that is not prepared and ready to affect their own life. And so, through the vision and wisdom of the president, we have of late decided to dedicate most of our focus to attacking the issue of our at-risk youth persons that who usually be referred to as Zogos Outlook. We feel is defeating, and it's not something we should be using because those are potential people. They only need the space and opportunity to show their worth. We have engaged the UNDP, through whom we started the seed program that targeted 500 of at-risk people that had a little hit in stop because of the pandemic. And we can assure that our focus will be placed into this area because we have the belief that every young person has a potential. It's only left with the opportunity to be provided for that potential to be realized. And on that note, again, I would like to express my own thanks to uh, to the um, to the president who has empowered a lot of young people in government for the first time. sitting at the highest level of decision making and who have always sought to include young voices into national decision making. That is the right thing to do. And we are glad we have him, a person with the vision to prepare the next bearers of the country in the near, not distant future. We want to also say to our young people out there that opportunities, wherever you might be, may be limited, but it is your bound duty to take the best advantage of any opportunity that come your way. The president today did not have all of the best opportunities when he was starting. He started and took advantage of the little he had, and he is who he is today. Again, I want to thank you for the invite to appear on your platform and share some thoughts with you. It is my hope and trust that we'll be back on this platform anytime called upon, because it's our duty to speak to our people, for them to get to know where we are, ask questions, and it's our responsibility to ensure that we respond to those questions. I appreciate you for having me on your show, and thanks also to those who were there with us.
Minister, though, we want to say thank you. Certainly, I will reach out to you for your information. I run the political program of this network focused on Liberia, and that program is the Hour of Politics. I can just imagine we are not talking about politics. You're sweating. How much more when you come on our political platform? That's certainly something we can do to bring you on the Hour of Politics to talk politics, because you are a politician as well.
I can assure you, I personally proud myself, and I know thousands of young people do, as one of those well-respected young people in government and people with good intellectual standing. And so we are ready, though we don't go about talking the whole day everywhere, but once we are called upon, we are ready to fire. So you can trust in our ability to do just that.
If you can promise me that when you come on the Hour of Politics, it will not be about praising your president, how he's
We don't
this and
praise
that.
anybody.
Let's just talk the politics.
Definitely.
All right, Mr. Doe, we can't say thank you enough. Surely we'll reach out to you to come here and talk about politics, and it will not be about policy issues at the Ministry of Youth and Sport. We want to say thank you for honoring our invitation. Folks in cyberspace, thank you for following our broadcast here. We can't apologize enough that the telephone system that we use for the teleconference system is down for some reason. It connects, but for some reason I can't see you, and I need to see you logging in. Who comes in first? Because we take these calls by first come first serve. Since I don't have that ability, I will not know who I'm bringing in. And that would not be fair to you. So the control system is not showing, so I couldn't do that. And that's why we then bring you in to participate by talking. Thank you for watching. Again, my name is Anthony Sie. Yeah, I focus on Liberia. We educate, we elevate, we promote all things Liberia. Today at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, that will be 3 p.m. Minnesota time, we will be having another show. You don't want to miss it. We'll be talking about post-COVID-19 Africa, politics, health, everything. We'll be looking at that. And at 7 p.m., we will be having another show to talk about the death of George Floyd and the culture of police killings in America and the history of racism, which we believe is the underlying catalyst for why police go about killing blacks. And we will go into that because we Liberians are blacks and we are one, and we need to talk about the issue that affects every black man because it affects us also. On that note, we say thank you for watching. This is Focus on Liberia. We educate, we elevate, we promote all things Liberia. We will now close with our song that said we are all Liberians. Thank you and bye-bye. Mr. Doe, stay with me for now.
We are Liberia. Liberia is our home.